Hello, everybody. Welcome to Ladies Power Launch. This is Collaboration Conversations. So, we have figured out that, in this time that we're in, collaborations might be the best way for us to grow our businesses and keep ourselves going as we enter into what is seeming to be a new way of doing business with the people that we do business with. I have as my very special guest today my very dear friend Jackie Baldwin, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about some of the collaborations that she's been a part of, how they've worked, ones that haven't, and maybe we'll even get to the meat of why some collaborations work and what's just the best things to look out for when we're forming a collaboration. So let's dive right into this discussion and see where it takes us. But before we get started, Jackie, would you mind just sharing with our viewers who are you and what is it that you do?
Of course. Well, thank you again for having me. I'm excited to talk about collaborations. I do it all the time. I am Jackie Baldwin, and I'm a financial architect, otherwise known as a financial advisor. And I take a very holistic approach to working with my clients. I want to make sure that they are healthy, both all in their financial, their spiritual, and their physical well-being. And if any one of those areas is left neglected or is in decline, it can have a serious effect on the other two. And so with that, that leads right into why I do collaborations.
That's wonderful. We talk a lot at Ladies Power Lunch about living your optimal life and making sure that all aspects of your life are in alignment so that you can live the most fulfilled life possible. So, your health, your finances, your work life, all of that, every single piece of it, your relationships can actually be fantastic. And so, it's really refreshing to hear another member of our Ladies Power Lunch group just talking about how important it is to pay attention to every aspect and to get everything into alignment. I love that. And I, of course, as a physician, I tend to approach it from the health side. You, as a financial architect, are approaching it from the financial side. But if we are able to, address every area of our lives, and can you imagine the full, amazing, wonderful lives that we would all be living? It would just be wonderful. And so that is really the overarching goal of Ladies Power Launch. But today, what we want to talk about is how collaborations can help us live our best life. So
Oh, absolutely.
tell me, when you think of collaboration, what comes to mind? I mean, what's like your definition of what a collaboration really is?
So to me, collaboration is bringing in resources in the form of people who have specialties in different areas so that you have an expert in the room at all times in all different areas. I have an expertise in financial planning, but I couldn't begin to tell you what kinds of nutrition that you need to make your healthy body other than what I know I need myself. So I prefer to bring in professionals in key areas. That also happens even within the financial planning business or arena. I want to make sure I bring in attorneys and the right kind of attorney. For different things that we're talking about. So if we're talking about divorce, I want a family attorney that specializes in family law. If I'm talking about estate planning or long-term care planning, I want to bring in an elder law attorney or an estate planning attorney. So it's really key to have the right people. And I always refer to having the right tools in the toolbox. And, my father, when he was teaching me when I was a little girl, he goes, always make sure you use the right tool for the right job. And so I've always kept that in my mind. And I want, in order for my clients to have their best life, they need to have the right experts. I can throw out information, but it may not be the best information. And I want my clients to have that best information.
So I think you've touched on something that in our collaborations conversations, maybe we've kind of skirted around, but we probably haven't pinpointed. And that's that having a collaboration ensures that there are experts available in all the required fields. And so I'm going to actually write that down. Yeah, experts in all the fields.
Mhm.
That's really, really, that seems really, really important because
It
like you're
is.
saying, I mean, yeah, I'm really good when it comes to patient care, but I wouldn't ask me to manage your money. I think that would be a bad decision on your part. So
But
there's
even
that.
within the financial planning arena, there are some financial advisors who do want to try to be the sole person in their clients' lives. And it is impossible, trust me, to be an expert in all of the areas, even within financial planning. So, for example, I don't do Medicare insurance planning. I have a specialist I bring in for that. That's a whole thing that's very specific. And I want my clients to have the best. I'm licensed to write Medicare insurance, but I cannot bring the very best advice to my clients.
Right.
So, yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot, and I've definitely made a note of that. Um, I would love to get an idea of, you've mentioned a little bit in passing some experience that you've had with collaborations. So can you tell us some stories? How about we start with a collaboration that went really, really well? Do you have any stories like that?
Well, I do. As a matter of fact, the most recent collaboration I did, we've actually, it went so well, we've decided we're going to do it quarterly, and that is for breast health awareness, breast care. So I'm collaborating with April Beeman, for example, who is from Connecticut Thermography, and with Carol Sakianis, who's with Ruby Ribbon. And by bringing in these women to talk about breast health and awareness, I'm able to bring in these specialties for my clients. What is done really well with that is all three of us um, talk about ahead of time, and we can get into that in a moment, but we talk ahead of time about what are our expectations, what's the vision for that collaboration, what are we each contributing to that, and what do we each expect to take out of it. It's very important for us to all be on the same page. Um, so we're each committing to inviting from our own networks and our own resources, so that we're all bringing in new clients to each other to bring the best. Because again, if we're working them all together, we want to make sure our clients have the best of all of these areas. And so that has worked really well. We've had great turnout. The attendees have nothing but fabulous things to say. And, you know, they're all being able to reach out and work individually with each one of us. And so it's been really positive all the way around. And so we're going to be doing it again in January. This will be our third time doing it together.
I love it. It sounds super successful, and I can see how it would be beneficial for everybody who's participating, both the presenters as well as the attendees. But I have a little bit of a question here because I
Sure.
can see, I do know Carol and I do know April. They are also members of our Ladies Power Lunch community. So it's really nice to see you all collaborating together. That's wonderful. But I can see Carol and April working together because the things that they do support women's breast health.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious, how did you get to realize that as a financial planner, you would be a good fit for this collaboration? Because it doesn't seem like the most intuitive fit.
So anybody who knows me knows that I'm a complete out of the box thinker. I never go for tradition. I'm always looking for unique opportunities. And I know, I'm just going to be totally upfront and honest, that most people are not going to seek me out as a financial advisor. Most people are intimidated by going to a financial advisor. They get nervous about that. And so therefore, I could be talking about what I do for women, but until they know me and can trust me and feel comfortable with me, they are most likely not going to come to me. So by having these types of opportunities to show all the sides of me, which is that I care so deeply about my clients and future clients, it gives them an opportunity to get to know me on a different level and build up that trust. It's funny because Carol, April, and I have often joked around. People get naked in front of all three of us, just in different ways. And so when you have to reveal your finances with somebody, it's almost more frightening to reveal that and get naked in that arena than to take your clothes off and have a scan done or to be trying on intimate wear. And so I know that I do these, one, to bring awareness about health issues, but also to bring people so they can see me in a different light. And then while they're having conversations with April and Carol, there's often times where those conversations lead to referrals to me and vice versa.
It's perfect. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I am only asking this question because, like I said, it doesn't seem to be the most intuitive. I also do think it's absolutely brilliant. And I think that perhaps we should put on our list of things that we want to look out for as far as collaborations go, is to think outside the box, to really give ourselves an opportunity not to be limited by just working with people who might be in similar fields or working in similar areas, but to actually embrace the idea of extending collaborations to people who do things that are very different from us. Because I've seen the collaborations you guys have done, and those
Mm-hmm.
have been very, very successful. My favorite collaboration in history is Ben and Jerry, because
Yes.
to me, that's the most delicious collaboration that's ever been made. And I feel like you guys are on that level of just amazingness in terms of what I've seen you guys do together. So that's wonderful. So,
I mean, teamwork makes the dream work. And, I actually can come up with a collaboration. You name a profession, and I can almost name a collaboration I can do with them. That's how out of the box I think.
yes,
Almost.
I love that. And I feel the same way too. I can look at a group of women and I can, or maybe a group of people, I don't know, maybe I just hang out with women a little bit more, but I can look at a group of people and I can see, okay, these people would work really, really well
Oh,
together.
you're so good at that.
I really am, and I'm just gonna pat myself on the back right there for a second. But
And I would be patting you on the back.
oh, but the thing about it is, I don't think that everybody can really see that and grasp that right away. And there might be things that hold people back from actually getting into a collaboration. What do you think is probably the number one, number two things that kind of hold people back from really embracing what could be so wonderful?
So one, I think, just as you're saying, they may not be able to see the connection, but also sometimes people, especially like when I'm inviting in somebody to talk about other financial advising, like Medicare and things like that, sometimes people, I think, get a little bit protective over their business. And they think that, oh my goodness, I don't want to give up that relationship with that client. And so they get protective over their business. And I appreciate that, but my experience has been completely the opposite. When you share and open up like that, everybody's business flourishes. And most importantly, the client gets the very best service. If I were to try to say I'm not going to invite in a specialist that I feel maybe a Medicare specialist actually can write life insurance and things like that as well, that's where I will say you need to be very upfront and say to that person, don't assume. And I did have that problem once. I did a collaboration with an attorney regarding long-term care. And I assumed, and you know what they say about that, that they knew all of what I did. And unfortunately, I guess I hadn't made that really clear, that I actually do full financial planning. They only thought I did long-term care planning. And so they actually referred someone to another advisor to do investments. And I found out about it, and I had to basically redirect and say, that was on me, and I had to own that. I did not communicate clearly. Poor communication, not clear communication is the biggest breakdown. That's the biggest reason why collaboration doesn't work. If you are very upfront and don't assume anything, be very clear. And I also recommend writing it out, whether it be in the form of an email, it doesn't have to be signed, but something that you can point back to that you know that each person has read, and then reiterate that. Have a planning meeting ahead. Go through. I'm working on a collaboration with 2 other women right now, and I put together an agenda. You have to have all those pieces in play. And we're going to talk about it. And then I write it out and I send it back out to everybody that's in it and saying, this is what we talked about and agreed upon. Because if there's a breakdown, I want to be able to have something to point back to. And if I don't have something to point back to, then that means we didn't communicate clearly enough. And I need to do better on the next time. So communication's key.
So you mentioned this breakdown in communication that caused the interaction or the collaboration with this particular attorney to not go as ideally as you might have liked. Do you have any other stories of collaborations that just didn't go the way you expected?
When it comes to money, costs for events, I have had situations where we had it broken out, the costs for everybody, and everybody was to contribute a certain amount of money. We were doing it at a nice country club. Full half day, we had a brunch, a full brunch. I mean, it was an expensive event. And I had someone back out and never paid. And I didn't want to share the wealth with everybody or the expense to other people. So that was an expense that I had to take on. And it actually did really taint my relationship with that person going forward as well. I was disappointed. And so that's, you got to be really careful. When there's money involved, you need to be careful because it can also harm relationships, right? If you had an expectation and somebody pulled out at the last minute for really it wasn't like a family matter or anything like that. So money is a big issue as well. When there's money or resources that are needed, much more so, now that we're doing everything on Zoom, it's easier. But yeah, that was a bad, and then I had to cover the subject matter that person was going to discuss, which I could because it was another advisor, but it was unfortunate.
So I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into this because I feel as though these things that happen that we consider unfortunate events or the things that we think went badly or poorly, I think these are the best things because I think in these lie the gold. In these things, this is where we learn the things that we need to learn about going forward. So, what do you think we could have done a little bit differently to make sure that we didn't have this particular outcome?
Yeah, I mean, what I should have done is because there was money involved and significant dollars, I think in that point, I probably should have had more of a signed agreement and then received at least a portion of that money up front.
Yeah.
That's non-refundable.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that.
That was a big, that cost me thousands of dollars this event.
Well, I know because I mean, before we were all in quarantine, I used to do events too. That is basically how Ladies Power Lunch existed before we ended up online. And so we would have our monthly meetings and we would have our summits and we would have our retreats. And I do remember there was one retreat where we were going to a beautiful location in the Caribbean. So you can imagine that
can't wait until we do that again.
Yes, I know. But you can imagine the dollars associated with that sort of retreat are significant. And yes, I did have one or maybe even two of our participants back out. at the
Mm.
last minute. And so it makes a difference. And I absolutely agree because that taught me something so significant. Always, when there's money, have contracts every single
Mm.
time without exception. And
Mhm.
so,
Right.
it really, really is good to learn, but it was an expensive learning experience. And I would
Yeah,
rather our attendees learn from our experiences than make
absolutely.
these
And
changes
also,
themselves.
yeah, and also I think, think about it from this respect too, because I think sometimes we're hesitant to ask for that because a lot of us become really friends. Um, so it's awkward perhaps to think about signing a contract, but think about it as a friendship preservation.
I think it protects the friendship.
When you have something like that, in this case, I really lost that relationship with this person.
Mhm.
Had there been a contract and the money needed to be paid anyway, or there were provisions for you're going to pay this much and this much is refundable at this point in time or whatever, if it was spelled out, I don't think I would have lost that relationship.
I
So
agree.
I think, in order to, I think sometimes people feel awkward, but you're going to feel a whole lot more awkward if you've lost that relationship. So,
Absolutely. And at the same time, we want to make sure that we're not allowing these sorts of things to prevent us from getting
correct.
involved with collaborations. Because, I mean, what would you say are the biggest pros of getting into a collaboration? Like, what are the really, really great reasons? You did mention, having experts in all fields, but are there other reasons why a collaboration makes a lot of sense for you?
For me, it adds a richness to what I have to offer to the people that are following me. Bringing people to them that they might not have met before. Um, it also, for me, I love to learn and to I love to think outside the box and bring things together in a beautiful way that are not prepackaged, that are unique experiences. And it's unique for me because each person I collaborate with has a different personality. It's unique for those who are attending. It's a unique opportunity for me to learn from another person. What are they doing? For example, with the collaboration with April and Carol, April had very different resources to bring to the table as far as what technology she used that I hadn't been aware of. So it enriched my overall experience with doing other collaborations. So everybody's bringing in their own flavor. It's like making this big jumbo type thing. It's all these wonderful flavors that come together and create this beautiful new experience, and bringing new areas of expertise, new areas of exploration. I didn't know some of these things existed before. And so it allows me to now think even further of creating a different type of a collaboration because of new technology or new resources that I never even knew of. And if we stay in our own little tiny boxes, we're never going to grow. And in order to continue moving forward in this ever-changing world, we need to be able to grow and to expand and learn from one another.
I love it. I love it. I especially love your example of the ingredients being fine by themselves, but when you put them together, you get this
Mm-hmm.
beautiful, beautiful dish. I think that is probably the best example that I've ever thought of what a collaboration really is.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. I love it. So, Jackie, to wrap this up, any final words for our viewers as far as collaboration goes?
One, if anybody wants to collaborate with me, reach out because I can probably figure it out and figure a way for us to make that work that makes sense. Think outside the box always. When you're talking with somebody, meeting somebody new in a networking event or an environment, ask them questions about what it is that they do. and start thinking about how is what they do enhancing what you do. How does it bring a new flavor to even what you do? Or how can it expand and how can it help the people that you're serving? What they're doing, how can that serve those that you're serving? And I just think if you can continually really keep your mind open, completely open when you're meeting somebody. Don't just always think about them on their own individually. Think of immediately, how can we work together? And if you do that, you're going to find your collaborations explodes. Every time I meet somebody, I think of how can we work together? Always, always.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love it. Jackie, it's been such a pleasure talking to you. Do you have anything going on right now that you'd like to invite people to? Do you have any way for our guests and viewers to connect with you? Anything that you want to share before we wrap up?
Well, I have two collaborations that are coming up. One is coming right up this week I'm actually collaborating with a speaker in Indianapolis regarding the also important topic of long-term care planning. And so I have a specialist that will be on the call for invited guests. And so if anybody's interested, just private message me on Facebook or reach out to me. I'm just going to throw out my number, 860-500-0051, text or call. And then the other collaboration that we're working on is going to be in early December, and that will be a retreat at Float 41 with Sarah Ladiano and Naomi Rafalowitz doing a guided meditation and then some words of inspiration from me. So it should be, it's proving to be, I think we're putting it all together. We're finalizing the details this week. I think it's going to be an extraordinary retreat.
Oh my, that sounds wonderful. I look forward to that. And what's your website?
www.blfinarc.com. Stands for B and L Financial Architects.
Okay, that's wonderful. So if any of our viewers wish to check out your website or get in touch with you, they absolutely know how. And of course, I'm inviting you to just post in the
Yes.
chat on our Facebook forum to give our people a chance to connect with you if they would like to or to attend your retreat or that sort of thing. Jackie, it was so wonderful talking to you. It is always wonderful talking to you. And you've really given us some things to think about. So thank you. I appreciate it. So I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks everybody for tuning in to Ladies Power Lunch Collaboration Conversations. Look forward to seeing you next time. Have a great rest of the day. Bye.